Hello and welcome to this week's edition of Ask Your Councillor. As you might be able to already tell, a bit of a different episode this week. Sonia's not here to host, unfortunately, but I, myself, Ahsam, will be here as a guest host this week, and of course, joined, as usual, by our co-host, Tania.
Hello. Hi, everyone.
Hiya. And of course, this week we are joined by councillors from the Sundon Park Ward, and I will hand over to them to introduce themselves.
Well, I'm Steve Moore. I'm Councillor Steve Moore, and I'm Councillor Clive Mead.
Wonderful.
Lovely. So let's jump straight into it. Let's talk a bit about yourselves, your history. When did you first get into it? We'll start with yourself.
Well, I was about to say I was born in Sundon Park. I wasn't. I was obviously born in Luton Dunsmore Hospital, but my parents moved to Sundon Park when I was 6 months old. So I know Sundon Park on the back of my hand. So I lived there for what, 34 years. I've been a Liberal Democrat all my life, really. I've been a member for over two periods for probably a good decade now. I originally ran to be a councillor. I think the first time would have been 2018, a by-election 2018, then ran for the 2019 election in Round Green.
Okay.
And then won a by-election 2 years later to become a councillor in Round Green before obviously moving over to Sundon Park, because I know it really, really well in 2023.
Okay. And yourself?
I suppose it was my own fault. Back in 1974, somebody knocked on my door and said, would I vote for the Liberals? And I said yes. And next thing I know, they're back on my door saying, would you want to join the party? And then do you want to get involved, without delivering and things. And, it's sort of on a parabolic curve down into the abyss.
Oh, wow. Okay. We, on this segment, we like to go through the highs and lows of your ward, the highlights and any issues that you faced in your time as a councillor. So we can start with yourself.
I suppose at the moment, one of the biggest things that I'm facing is antisocial behaviour, drug dealing and things like that. We've got a little shopping precinct and there is problems around there. The police are aware of it, along with various departments of the council, and hopefully they're working together to try and sort it all out. But that's our main biggie at the moment. Hopefully that will go away, as it were. But yeah.
Yeah. Okay. And what about yourself?
Yeah. Well, we've been dealing with that. Obviously, the big thing last year was the stabbing incidents we had.
Yeah.
In town. I mean, I was still living there at the time, and obviously it was literally 2 doors down from my house at the time.
Wow.
So, yeah, it was all the up all night with all the blaring alarms and things, and I was dealing at the same time. I was dealing with my dad's ill health because he passed away, unfortunately, around about that time last year. So there was an awful lot going on about that time. So obviously we had issues with that last year, with incidents basically around a couple of competing gangs in the area, drug dealing gangs in the area, as kind of intimated. So we've been dealing with that, and obviously the big one this year has been more the antisocial level and some begging around the shops as well. Obviously, people who are genuinely homeless, trying to help them out, and obviously those that are more, shall we say, career beggars, that's when you more want to get the police side of things involved.
So what is it that you're doing to take action against any of this, any issues?
Well, I think all we can do is make sure that everybody is aware of the problem.
Yeah,
both in the town hall and the police and people like that, and sort of chivvy them as much as we can to get it sorted. We have no real powers of our own. We can't demand people do this and do that.
Of course.
But you can sort of lean on folk and ask for progress and that sort of thing.
Should we speak about the lows? I mean, sorry, the highs.
The highs,
We've just
yeah.
done the lows.
If they were the highs, we'd have a real problem.
Yeah.
Done the lows, the highs, highlights.
I don't know what there's a good. It's an oldish community now, Sundon Park, and
Yeah.
there's a lot of community spirit within the ward. If I can mention the Baptist Church and their pastor, whose name has suddenly escaped me, she'll never forgive me. She's doing great work. Well, they're doing, that team in that church are doing great work, doing battery boxes, breakfasts for families and this sort of thing.
Oh, nice.
And play schools and that sort of thing. That's a right little hub, and I'm proud of them. You know, I'm not a great one for religion myself, but at least they do what they practice.
Yeah.
Or they practice what they believe in.
Yeah.
You know, it isn't just once a week, all dressed up in your best, and that's it. You know, they get the sleeves rolled up and get stuck in.
Really
there.
stuck in. Yeah.
And that's one of our highlights.
It's something I love about, obviously, having grown up there, and I went to all three schools, Cheney's as it was, and Sundon Park Junior School as it was, and obviously Egan's it still is. That area of the town still, well, that area, our own area, has its own community. There is a community there. See, we've lost some of the community hubs, obviously, mainly due to loss of pubs and things, which is a thing across the entire country and world as people's habits change.
Yeah.
So in that sense, it's different, but I think the community's still there.
Yeah.
Charmaine, that's the pastor.
Oh, right, okay. Suddenly come back to you.
Yes, it's only, yes, there's a thing about being old. You know.
No, that's all right. Yeah.
So every week on the show, we put it forward to our listeners. We say we're interviewing councillors from certain wards every week, and we ask them for their questions online via Facebook, social media, etc. And I think this week is probably the first week where we've come with quite literally a pack worth of questions from with feedback from all of the residents of Sundon Park. And because we've got so much to get through in probably almost 20 minutes now, if we don't get through anything, what's the best way for constituents to get in contact with yourselves?
Well, there's we put out our focus leaflets, and on there are phone numbers, addresses, and things like that. So people hang on to those. There's a direct line to us. If you can't find that, you go onto the council's website. There's sections there, you know, find my councillor, who's my councillor, and this sort of thing, and they will have details there on how people have to get hold of us.
Yeah, and for those that have got a pen and paper handy, certainly the best way to contact me would be the email that would be on that form, which would be steve.moore, which is MOORE @luton.gov.uk, and obviously Clive's email would be clive.mead at the same suffix.
Okay, lovely. Thank you. Should we run through the...
Yeah, so I think before we get stuck into all these questions, I think we'll just quickly remind the listeners, of course, if you do have any questions while you're listening, while you're in the car, you can get in touch with us. Do give us a ring on 01582 481822, or you can give us a text or a WhatsApp on 07779 481822, and we'll do our best to answer any questions that you have during the show. So I think let's get stuck in.
Okay. We've got them as segments. Segment 1, we have our parking issues. Lovely, always a lovely one, isn't it? Okay, so residents are concerned about promised parking restriction reviews. Can the council provide an update on when and how these reviews will be conducted? Okay.
Right, so there's an element of how long's a piece of string. I know Clive's mentioned about us chivvying, but some of the issues. Sorry.
Yes, it is an issue. There seems to be a bit of bat and ball here between the police and the council. You know, if you mention double yellow lines, that's the council's, and if there isn't double yellow lines, it's the police matter. And they seem to play off each other when it comes to parking and dragging their heels. But there is a problem in inconsiderate parking on corners, parking on pavements. A lot of the roads in Sundon Park are quite narrow. They're not what I would call full width roads.
Yeah.
And the problem is you get people parking then up on pavements on the grass verge. But if they didn't do that and you wanted to get a fire engine down there, chances are it wouldn't be able to get down.
Hill rise is a big one for that. You do have cars parking the entire way down what is quite a considerable through road on either side of the road, which is obviously affecting the pavement, and there's a lot of bat and ball between the council and the police on those as to whose responsibility sorting that out is, unfortunately.
Yeah. Okay. Awesome. Do you want to pick another one from parking?
Yeah, I think you did mention hill rise and stuff. I think another sort of area I think that residents brought up were sort of parking around 3rd Avenue, 4th Avenue, as well as 8th Avenue, where they say cars are left out for days. I think another issue that I think that people had were sort of HMOs within the area, and sort of if there's anything being done to regulate that with regards to sort of multiple occupancies, and sort of how that affects parking and issues like that.
I know the council itself has had various schemes they were going to introduce in regulating all rented property, but unfortunately they've fallen through. The landlords have got together and have challenged a lot of the schemes they proposed, and managed to get them crushed on legal grounds or impracticality. And I don't quite know where the ruling party is on that at the moment. No, I don't. So anyway, they're looking at all rented housing, and with the multiple occupancies very much center stage on that.
I mean, there's two different parts to this. There's legal HMOs and illegal HMOs. Exactly. Illegal HMOs is something that is just a plain enforcement issue. If you're aware of that and you let us know, that's where we can get some serious stuff done. The legal HMOs basically comes down to the way planning permission is granted, and shall we say the views of our party might not be the views of in general, because obviously you can't go into any planning meeting, or certainly our planning officer, the members of the councillors that are part of that committee are not allowed legally to go into any individual planning application with a guaranteed mindset. You have to be considered to have been open at the start of the meeting. But we do have various guidelines that to try and help alleviate some of the problems with that we would like to see, like more in those applications with improvements on areas of parking, because you have legal HMOs that have been granted the planning permission, but they don't have enough parking space, or what we would consider enough parking space for that HMO. It exacerbates issues like we talked about to do with the parking, and it's creating another issue. It's not just one issue; it creates other issues down the line. Obviously, same is true when it comes to waste disposal, recycling disposal. So, but like I say, if it's an illegal HMO, contact if you believe it is, contact us. We'll be able to find out if it is, and if it is, we can do something about it.
Yeah. Okay. Shall we jump to another segment?
Yeah, go for it.
Parks and green spaces now. Okay, so we've got playgrounds are said to need a refresh. Is this something which is on the council's radar? Are there any plans to refresh playgrounds and provide additional facilities for kids? And also on that one, some residents are requesting better sport facilities at local parks. What is the council's plan for enhancing sports amenities in the area? So playgrounds and sport facilities.
Well, sportsy very much my area. I'm sports mad. I used to play disabled cricket to a reasonably high level, so that's my game. Although I recently attempted to bowl for the first time in a decade and realised how long a decade is. No. One of the things we have seen in Leagrave Park, I'm very proud of the fact that we still have an area of green space like Leagrave Park, is we have had a whole new outdoor gym area installed there over the last couple of years, and that seems to be used. Or certainly when I walk past, it's used on a semi-regular basis. Obviously not if I'm walking past there at 10 o'clock in the morning. We still have, I believe, a Gaelic football club still there, which is excellent. We still got the facilities on the park, but I am also aware when it comes to the main pavilion there, that's something that Clive, as long as my predecessor Anna, you particularly was trying to help do something with.
Yes, there was an organisation called Nine Red, something like that. They were hoping to take it over and turn it into a mini community centre with sports facilities, changing facilities and things like that. That seems to have gone quiet of late. Maybe I need to chase that one up. But it's and also there was a bowls club there, and there was plans to have an all-weather cricket training facility there. Now that again has fallen through. So again, we need to maybe ask some questions about what they're doing about the old
find
bowls.
out what's going on. Yeah.
But there were those plans. But you go down there on a Sunday and those pitches are full. You know, there's football, there's rugby. In the summer, there's cricket. And this is down on Lee Park.
Tuesday and Wednesday nights. You see, during the summer, the pitches are absolutely full. Yeah. But like I say, if we could do more with the pavilion, hopefully there'd be better facilities there.
Yeah.
It's the old question: money. Nobody's got any money these days, especially the council. I know I shouldn't really, with the Labour being in charge, but your heart goes out to the Labour administration. The way that they've had their budget cut by central government, and they're still expected to provide minimum services. It's an unenviable position they're in, and where they make the cuts is, takes a lot of agony and agonising, should I say? But,
Yeah.
Yeah, well, I think while we're on sort of the issue of green spaces, I think maybe kind of segueing slightly away from that, I think some of the residents, I think when we asked them, they did speak a little bit about the condition of trees on streets such as, I think, Cranbrook Drive, etc. I think they were talking about sort of just making sure that they're sort of well kept, and maybe just sort of the general upkeep of the streets. And are there any plans towards that?
Well, there should be some kind of cutting rota, and we've been pushing hard for that to be made public, and it still hasn't as of yet. So it should be. I know there's another issue when it comes to trees with a couple of the closes down there. I think Moira Close has an issue where there are potentially trees that would cause an issue to the buildings around them, which we need to assess. But the residents around there are aware of that, and the council is aware of that and are looking into it. In terms of upkeep, there is a rota for it. It's not as often as we like, but again, that goes back a little bit to Clive's issue that it's more to do with the amount of funding that central government is giving the councils up and down the country. But certainly, a lot of these questions, at least if these things were in the public domain. So,
yeah, so like I say, it's now getting a mature state, and which was built in the early 50s, 60s, 70s, and there was an awful lot of inappropriate tree planting. Trees which we would never plant today were planted. Sycamores who grow to an enormous size. Now we got 3 redwoods in the area. Now they grow to an enormous size. Plus their root system is very low, so just below the surface. So it breaks up the pavement, the underground utilities, people's brick walls, and one thing and another. Yeah, there was a lot of inappropriate planting, and trying to keep on top of this. It keeps me busy anyway. Yeah, there's good. You know, people are concerned that their their telephone wires, which come to the house on a pole, goes through a tree, and they can see the tree being blown around, and there's their wires being flexed backwards and forwards.
Yeah.
And you know, people would rely upon those bits of wire these days.
Yeah.
You know, it isn't just an old telephone call; it's a whole life sign.
While we're on the topic of trees, moving on from that, well, trees, litter, in the park, litter bins.
If you can draw a comparison.
With no comparison there. We've had a resident ask what happened to the small road sweeper. He used to be a regular sight around Sundon Park. I asked the council to make inquiries. They responded by saying it's broken down and needs parts from Germany. Please can we ask for it to come back? Litter streets give Luton the reputation it sadly owns. Another person actually mentioned the bins after football is always covered in litter. There
are a couple of bins in the park, I'm aware, because I've walked through it enough times.
Yeah.
And yes, we could try and push harder to have more bins in the park, but it's quite an open space park and a lot of it is used for football pitches and cricket pitches, so you can't stick a stake in the middle of the park to put a bin on it.
Yeah.
So the bins, by principle, would be around the edges.
Yeah.
There's one by the entrance the side entrance that heads up the close that's down there. Is it Parkview Close, I believe the road is, that I used to walk through the park to walk towards Leagrave train station. So there's definitely one there. There's certainly at least one other, but if we got a couple further along, that's great, but there's still the element of people using them when they're in the middle of the park and they won't either take it with them or do the actual thing of walking 10 yards to use the bin on the side. I think that's an issue as much as a lack of bins, because I know that unless things have moved in the last 6 months from when I was regularly walking through that park, there are multiple bins on the park.
Yeah, no, the issue was that they're just covered in litter, and the council. I'm reading what the resident has said. The council man goes around on a Monday picking it up. If they book the pitch, they should be fined for the state they leave it in. Okay, so I think it's overflowing bins, and how often they get cleaned and.
Yeah.
Yeah, I think it just comes back to resources, you know.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Okay, which one shall we move on to next?
Well, I think we've only got
left?
time for one more.
Okay.
I think by far, the one thing I think that people talked about the most, I think, were potholes.
Yeah.
I don't think it doesn't matter whether you live in Sundon Park, in Luton, wherever in Luton you live, or Bedfordshire, or just the UK in general. I think the one thing that people are concerned about, especially at this time of year, is potholes. I know that there is some kind of process where residents can report that to the council. I don't know if everyone's aware of it though.
I have a phone app on my phone. Without loading it up and going through the process, I wouldn't have to think it in my head. But if anyone wanted to report a specific pothole to myself, use the email, because then the photos are there and I can use the photos to go on the app myself and do it. The one thing with potholes is they do have strict rules and regulations about what constitutes the correct size of pothole that they have to immediately fill, which I'm not keen on. Ironically, I reported two that are within about 20 yards of each other, both on 10th Avenue, which is a road that is now being used more and more because it goes back into the shops. So you get heavy lorries that weren't never intended for that road coming down and reversing into the shops, mainly either for the Tesco or for the barber shop and a couple of takeaways that are on the hill right side of that parade. And I took photos of the two, and I expected one of the two of them would definitely get done. No, the other one got done because it met the criteria, and the one I thought would definitely get done didn't. I was told it didn't meet the criteria. So there's strict literal measurement criteria about height and width of a pothole that's needed. But feel free to report any of them, like I say.
Yeah.
and I'm happy to report them
the
on.
council has had a ring fence grant to fix potholes, and let's hope they get round to them all. I don't know how much it costs to fix a pothole, and whether there's enough money in this pot to fix them all. But yes, we've definitely become a sort of a third world country when it comes to potholes. I went to Ireland for my holidays last year, and the roads over there are like billiard tables, and even the sheep up in Connemara got 5G connectivity. So I live in Leagrave, and we haven't got 5G where I live anyway.
No.
So
Yeah. Well, I think
they're in the UU.
Yeah.
There you go.
No, you put that little grenade in.
Well, on that note, I think that is all the time we've got for today. So thank you so much to Councillors Clive, Mead, and of course Councillor Steve Moore for joining us today. Again, listeners, if you do have any more concerns, if you live in the Sundon Park Ward, you can get in touch with them. Their details will be on the council website. You can find them there. And thank you again for tuning in to Ask Your Councillor. I've been Ahsam, joined by my co-host Tania.
We'll see you next week.
We'll see you next week. See you. Bye.
Bye.